The Karthex don't believe in mercy, they believe in the hunt. And when Dr. Elena Volkov stepped into that arena with nothing but a combat knife and 10 rounds in a battered pistol, every alien eye in the galaxy was watching, waiting for the human to break, to run, to die screaming like all the others. She did none of those things. What she did instead changed the trajectory of an empire and taught the galaxy's most feared hunters why humanity had clawed its way from the caves to the stars. This is that story. My name is Drextor, and I was communications officer aboard the Karthex flagship Razorwind when it happened. I watched the entire hunt through 12 different camera feeds. I translated the humans' words for my commanders. I saw their confusion turn to concern, then concern to something that looked uncomfortably like fear. The Karthex are not supposed to know fear. We are Apex, we are the terror that stalks the void between stars. For 16,000 cycles we have hunted across 40 systems, taking the strongest warriors from lesser species and testing them in our arenas. It is our way, our pride, our identity. We had hunted Gorvati battle masters, silken death dancers, even the crystalline Vexnor who could predict movement through quantum resonance. All had fallen, all had died with honor, but they had died. Then we caught a human. Warmaster Krell'vax stood 3 meters tall, his forearms ending in claws that could tear through ship plating. His hide was scarred from 100 hunts, each mark a trophy of a worthy opponent. He was legend among our people, undefeated in 63 arena combats. He chose to hunt the human personally. "This one is small," he announced to the assembled crowd, his voice carrying across the amphitheater. 10,000 Karthex warriors filled the stands, their battle roar shaking the foundations. Soft, no natural weapons, no enhanced biology, just baseline. He circled the arena floor, his talons clicking against stone. The humans claimed to be survivors, adaptable, dangerous. His laugh was like grinding metal. "We shall test this claim." I watched from the control tower as he flexed all 4 arms, each one carrying a blade forged from our homeworld's volcanic core. Weapons that had tasted the blood of champions. "Today," Krell'vax roared, "we discover if humans bleed courage or cowardice." The crowd's response was deafening. Dr. Elena Volkov looked impossibly small, standing at the opposite end of the arena. She was 1.7 meters of lean muscle, her dark hair tied back in a simple braid. No armor, no enhancement, just standard colony utility clothing and field boots that had seen better days. She'd been taken from a research station on the frontier, a xenobiologist of all things, not a soldier, not a warrior, a scientist who studied alien ecosystems. "She studies predators," our intelligence officer had reported. "Apex species, hunting behaviors." Krell'vax had laughed at that. "Then she will appreciate the irony of becoming prey." The human stood perfectly still as Krell'vax approached. She didn't tremble, didn't weep, didn't pray to whatever gods humans believed in. She simply waited, watching, her eyes tracking every movement like she was taking notes for a lecture. "Look at it," one of my fellow officers sneered. "Doesn't even understand the danger." But I had been watching her face, and I saw something in her eyes that made my blood run cold. She understood perfectly. Krell'vax stopped 10 meters from the human. By tradition, he would offer the prey a weapon, a chance, however small, to die with dignity. "Human," he announced, his voice carrying to every corner of the amphitheater. "You may choose one blade from our armory, any design, any weight." He gestured to a rack of weapons that lined the arena wall. Swords, axes, spears, each a masterwork of Karthex metallurgy. The human's lips quirked in something that wasn't quite a smile. "No thank you." The crowd's roar died to confused murmurs. Refusing a weapon was unheard of. Krell'vax's head tilted. "You refuse? I have my own knife." She drew a simple combat blade from her boot. 20 centimeters of utilitarian steel. Nothing fancy. A tool, not a trophy. "And I'll keep my pistol if it's all the same to you." She held up a battered human sidearm. Our scans had already detected it. A primitive chemical propellant weapon. It held 10 rounds. Just 10. Krell'vax's laugh echoed off stone. You wish to face me with that? A weapon that can only fire 10 times before it becomes useless metal. 10's enough. The crowd erupted in derision. Even I found myself incredulous. 10 rounds against a Karthex Warmaster. Madness. But Krell'vax's eyes gleamed with something like respect. Very well, pray. Keep your knife and your 10 bullets. It will make your death more educational. The human checked her pistol with practiced efficiency, confirmed the magazine, cycled around into the chamber. Her movements were calm, methodical, like she was preparing for field work, not a death match. Then she looked directly at Krell'vax and spoke 5 words in perfectly accented Karthex. You have studied ambush predators. Krell'vax froze. You train in stalking, in the killing strike, in overwhelming prey, through superior strength and speed. She gestured around the arena. This place is designed for your hunting style, your terrain, your rules. Yes, Krell'vax said slowly. What of it? The human's smile was sharp as her knife. I study persistence hunters. Warmaster. Humans aren't apex because we're the strongest. We're apex because we don't stop ever. We chase prey until their hearts explode. We wound and withdraw, and wound again until nothing's left but exhaustion and death. She took 1 step forward. You wanted to test if humans are survivors. Then let me teach you the difference between a predator, another step, and an extinction event with a pulse. The silence in that arena was absolute. Krell'vax's mandibles spread in a true battle grin. Then come, little human, show me your teeth. No, everyone froze. You come to me, Elena Volkov said quietly. That's how persistence hunting works. We don't charge, we don't rush, we wait for you to expend energy, to make mistakes, to realize too late that you're not hunting prey anymore. She raised her pistol, held it steady in a 2-handed grip. You are being evaluated. Krell'vax's laugh echoed off stone. You wish to face me with that, a weapon that can only fire 10 times before it becomes useless metal. 10's enough. The crowd erupted in derision. Even I found myself incredulous. 10 rounds against a Karthex Warmaster. Madness. But Krell'vax's eyes gleamed with something like respect. Very well, pray. Keep your knife and your 10 bullets. It will make your death more educational. Krell'vax charged. 4 meters of armored muscle accelerated across the arena floor with terrifying speed. His 4 blades caught the light, creating a hurricane of cutting edges. It was beautiful, lethal, the culmination of evolutionary perfection meeting trained skill. The human didn't run. She sidestepped at the last possible moment, not a panic dive but a measured pivot that kept her pistol oriented toward center mass. As Krell'vax's momentum carried him past, she fired. Crack! The first round caught his shoulder guard, cracking the hardened kitten. Not a killing blow, not even a wounding shot, just damage, strategic damage. Krell'vax spun, faster than should be possible for something his size. His lower right blade swept toward where the human should have been. She was already moving, circling left, maintaining distance. Her second shot hit his upper left arm. Again the armor held, but another crack spider-webbed across the surface. She's wasting ammunition, someone in the crowd shouted, but I was beginning to understand. She wasn't trying to kill. Not yet. She was mapping his defenses, testing armor integrity, learning his movement patterns. Krell'vax recognized it too. His initial confidence flickered. He'd never had prey that studied him while being hunted. The human kept moving, not running, but maintaining a steady pace that forced Krell'vax to turn, to adjust, to burn energy chasing optimal positioning. She was making him work for every attack angle. Stand and fight, Krell'vax roared. Why? Elena called back. You're the one getting tired. It was true. I could see it in the way his breathing had deepened, his movements becoming fractionally less precise. The arena floor was large, nearly 100 meters across, and the human was making him cover every centimeter of it. 3 more exchanges, 3 more shots. The human's 7th bullet finally penetrated, punching through weakened armor to embed in Krell'vax's lower right shoulder. Green blood welled from the wound. First blood to the prey. The crowd's roar became uncertain. This wasn't how hunts were supposed to go. Krell'vax clutched his shoulder, mandibles spread in pain and fury. He charged again, this time abandoning technique for pure aggression. All four blades came from different angles simultaneously, a killing pattern that had ended 63 opponents. Elena dropped flat, letting the blades pass overhead. She fired her eighth shot upward, into Krell'vax's exposed underbelly, the vulnerable gap between chest and hip plates. The Warmaster staggered, fell to one knee. The human stood, approached to within 5 meters. Her pistol never wavered. She had 2 rounds left. At this range, with his armor compromised, she could end it. Everyone knew it. Everyone held their breath. "You're dying," Elena said quietly. "That last shot hit your secondary circulatory node. You're bleeding internally. You have maybe 6 minutes before shock takes you." Krell'vax looked up at her, his eyes showing pain but no fear. "Then finish it, human. You have earned the kill." The human lowered her pistol. "No." The entire arena erupted in confusion. Krell'vax's eyes widened. "You're not my enemy, Warmaster," Elena said. "You're a warrior following his culture's traditions. Misguided traditions maybe, but you were doing what you believed was right." She gestured to the walls, to the thousands of watching Karthex. "My enemy is the system that brought me here. The empire that thinks strength means domination." She took one step back. "So here's what's going to happen. Your medical team is going to come down here and save your life. You're going to survive today, and you're going to remember that a human unarmed, outmatched, and alone had you dead to rights and chose mercy." The silence was deafening. "Why?" Krell'vax managed. Elena's smile was sad. "Because humans don't survive by being the cruelest. We survive by being the ones who can choose to be kind even when we could be killers. That's what makes us Apex, Warmaster. Not our teeth, our choices." The crowd's confusion turned to outrage. This was unprecedented, unthinkable. Prey did not spare predators. Prey did not lecture their betters about mercy. "Kill her," someone roared from the stands. "Finish the hunt." But something had changed in the arena. I could see it in the way the other guards hesitated, in the way Krell'vax looked at the human, not with hatred but with something approaching awe. "Take him," Elena called up to the control tower where I stood, "before he bleeds out. Unless you want your legendary Warmaster to die from pride." Supreme Commander Thraxnell, who had been watching silently until now, made a sharp gesture. "Medical team to the arena floor." Now, as the medics rushed down, Elena calmly ejected her magazine, caught it and tucked it into her pocket. She cleared the chamber, her 9th round spinning through the air to clink on stone. She caught that too. 1 bullet left, held loosely between her thumb and forefinger. 1 round remaining, she announced to the crowd. "Who wants it?" It should have been an empty threat. She was disarmed, surrounded by 10,000 warriors. But something in her posture, in the casual way she held that single bullet like it was all she'd ever need, made hardened Karthex soldiers take a step back. "This human is insane," my fellow communications officer whispered. "No," Supreme Commander Thraxnell said softly. "She's demonstrating something far more dangerous than insanity. She's demonstrating confidence that comes from certainty." "Certainty of what?" "That she's already won." "You're dying," Elena said quietly. "That last shot hit your secondary circulatory node. You're bleeding internally. You have maybe 6 minutes before shock takes you." Krell'vax looked up at her, his eyes showing pain but no fear. "Then finish it, human. You have earned the kill." The human lowered her pistol. "No." The entire arena erupted in confusion. Krell'vax's eyes widened. "You're not my enemy, Warmaster," Elena said. "You're a warrior following his culture's traditions. Misguided traditions maybe, but you were doing what you believed was right." She gestured to the walls, to the thousands of watching Karthex. "My enemy is the system that brought me here. The empire that thinks strength means domination." She took one step back. "So here's what's going to happen. Your medical team is going to come down here and save your life. You're going to survive today. And you're going to remember that a human unarmed, outmatched, and alone had you dead to rights and chose mercy." The silence was deafening. Why? Krell'vax managed. Elena's smile was sad. Because humans don't survive by being the cruelest. We survive by being the ones who can choose to be kind even when we could be killers. That's what makes us Apex Warmaster. Not our teeth, our choices. The standoff might have continued, if not for Karthex, Krell'vax's second-in-command. He leaped from the stands, landing in the arena with a crash that cracked stone. He was younger than Krell'vax, faster, and burning with the need to avenge his commander's humiliation. You dare show mercy to a Karthex Warmaster like he's some weakling needing your pity? Karthex snarled. I will tear you apart slowly for that insult. Elena sighed, reloaded her pistol with unhurried movements. I chambered her 10th round. Last warning, she said. Walk away. You have 1 bullet. Karthex charged. The human waited until he was halfway across the arena floor. Then she fired, not at Karthex, but at the ground directly in front of him. The bullet ricocheted off stone with a screaming whine, fragmenting into a dozen pieces of burning metal that peppered Karthex's face and eyes. He roared, stumbling, his charge disrupted. Elena was already moving. She'd calculated the angle, the timing, the exact moment when Karthex would be blind and off balance. She slid under his wild swing, came up behind him, and put her knife against the vulnerable junction where his spine met his skull. 0 bullets, she said quietly into his ear. 0 fucks left to give. You want to continue. Karthex froze. 1 thrust and he was paralyzed. Another and he was dead. I yield, he whispered. Elena stepped back, lowering her knife. Smart choice. The arena was silent again, but this time it wasn't confusion. It was respect. Grudging, reluctant, but unmistakable. She used environment, Thraxnell murmured. She weaponized her own ammunition's limitations. She turned disadvantage into advantage. That's adaptation, I said, finally understanding. True adaptation, not just surviving, optimizing. They should have stopped, should have released her, should have recognized that keeping a human who had defeated their best warriors in single combat was asking for disaster. Instead, Supreme Commander Thraxnell made a different choice. Open the survival sector, he ordered. The arena floor began to shift. Walls rose from hidden compartments. The flat battlefield transformed into a rocky, uneven terrain studded with cliffs, caves, and narrow passages. The survival sector, an environment designed to test Prey's ability to navigate hostile terrain while being hunted. She won in the arena, Thraxnell announced. Let us see if she survives in the wild. He deployed 4 hunters, not Warmasters, but scouts, smaller, faster, specialized in pursuit through complex terrain. They were trained to drive prey toward cliffs, to force mistakes, to capitalize on panic. Elena looked up at the control tower. You're not going to like how this ends. We shall see, human. The scouts deployed with professional precision, spreading out to cut off escape routes, establishing a perimeter to drive her toward the cliff edge. It was textbook hunting strategy, inescapable, except humans don't think of cliffs as dead ends. They think of them as opportunities. Elena ran, not in panic, but with purpose, heading straight for the highest cliff edge. The scouts followed, thinking they had her cornered. When she reached the edge, she didn't hesitate. She grabbed a protruding rock, swung herself over, and disappeared. The scouts reached the edge, looked down in confusion. She'd fallen to a ledge 3 meters below, a narrow outcropping, barely wide enough to stand on. She's trapped, one scout called up. Elena smiled. She'd already identified what the scouts had missed. The cliff face was sedimentary stone, weakened by weather and time. She began kicking at a specific point, where water staining suggested structural weakness. The rock gave way in a cascading collapse that sent 3 tons of stone crashing down the cliff face, creating a makeshift ramp of rubble. She climbed up this new path, emerging behind the confused scouts. Leverage, she said, knife in hand. We learned it before we left the caves. A human with leverage can move mountains. You just need to know where to push. 2 scouts fled. The other 2, to their credit, tried to fight. They learned the same lesson Karthex had. A cornered human with a blade and nothing left to lose is the most dangerous force in nature. The final test came at the cave network, a labyrinthine system designed to confuse and disorient. They sent 10 hunters this time, intent on driving Elena deep into the darkness where her primitive human senses would fail her. Instead, she made the cave her fortress. She retreated to a choke point, a narrow passage where only one Karthex could approach at a time. She barricaded the wider openings with fallen stones, leaving only the single narrow approach. Then she settled in to wait. "You cannot wait forever, human," the lead hunter called. "We can starve you out." "I'm a persistence hunter," Elena called back. "Waiting is literally our evolutionary specialty. Humans once tracked wounded prey for days without stopping, without water, without sleep. We are uncomfortably good at being patient." She paused. "Question is, how patient is your commander? How long before this stops being a hunt and starts being an embarrassment?" That landed. I could see the hunters' uncertainty. They'd been sent to end this quickly, definitively. Instead, they were stalemated by a single unarmed human who'd turned their own arena into her defensive position. "Rush me," Elena continued, her voice echoing off stone, "and I promise at least 3 of you die in this passage before you reach me. Your bodies will block the others. I'll use your weapons against your companions, and at the end of it, maybe you win, maybe you don't. But either way, your great Karthex empire will be known as the civilization that needed 10 warriors to kill one starving human scientist in a cave." The silence stretched. "Or," Elena said quietly, "you walk away. Tell your commander that hunting sapient beings for sport is beneath a species that calls itself Apex, and we discuss civilization to civilization, how to share this galaxy without one of us needing to exterminate the other. You would threaten us with extermination." The lead hunter's voice dripped with scorn. "No," Elena said, "I'm warning you that humans are very, very good at grudges. You hunted 63 species for sport. Fine. But do you really want to add a species to that list who invented the concept of scorched earth and mutually assured destruction? Who literally named a weapon design after a world-ending myth?" She leaned forward, her face catching the dim light filtering into the cave. "We didn't claw our way to the stars to be someone's entertainment, and we won't hesitate to burn the whole galaxy down before we let ourselves be prey. That's not a threat, Hunter. It's a guarantee written in 10,000 years of history where humans regularly chose mutual destruction over submission. The scouts deployed with professional precision, spreading out to cut off escape routes, establishing a perimeter to drive her toward the cliff edge. It was textbook hunting strategy. Inescapable. Except humans don't think of cliffs as dead ends. They think of them as opportunities." Elena ran, not in panic, but with purpose, heading straight for the highest cliff edge. The scouts followed, thinking they had her cornered. When she reached the edge, she didn't hesitate. She grabbed a protruding rock, swung herself over, and disappeared. The scouts reached the edge, looked down in confusion. She'd fallen to a ledge 3 meters below, a narrow outcropping barely wide enough to stand on. "She's trapped," one scout called up. Elena smiled. She'd already identified what the scouts had missed. The cliff face was sedimentary stone, weakened by weather and time. She began kicking at a specific point, where water staining suggested structural weakness. The rock gave way in a cascading collapse that sent 3 tons of stone crashing down the cliff face, creating a makeshift ramp of rubble. She climbed up this new path, emerging behind the confused scouts. "Leverage," she said, knife in hand. "We learned it before we left the caves. A human with leverage can move mountains. You just need to know where to push." 2 scouts fled. The other 2, to their credit, tried to fight. They learned the same lesson Karthex had. A cornered human with a blade and nothing left to lose is the most dangerous force in nature. Supreme Commander Thraxnal himself came to the cave entrance. "Dr. Volkov," he said, his voice carrying no hostility. "I would speak with you." Elena emerged slowly, knife still in hand, eyes scanning for traps. But Thraxnal stood alone, his weapon sheathed. "You have made your point," he said, more effectively than any diplomat could have. "My point was simple. Don't hunt humans." "The point I received," Thraxnal said carefully, "was that we have been thinking of predation incorrectly. For 16,000 cycles, we have defined apex through combat dominance, physical superiority, the strength of the individual hunter." He gestured to the transformed arena around them. "You showed us that apex means something different. It means adaptability, creativity, the willingness to turn every environmental feature into an advantage, the capacity to choose mercy from a position of strength and violence from a position of weakness. Thraxnall's mandibles spread in what I had learned to recognize as respect. And most importantly, you showed us that apex species don't just survive, they create systems where cooperation becomes more valuable than predation. He extended one hand, palm up, the Karthex gesture of peace. No species that thinks like you do should be prey, Dr. Volkov. The hunt is ended, not just yours, all of them. The treaty negotiations took 3 months. The Karthex didn't just release their captured warriors, they offered restitution, technology exchange, and a formal alliance. They transformed their arenas into cultural exchange centers. Their hunters became explorers, scientists, and diplomats. Warmaster Krell'vax recovered and became the Karthex's first ambassador to human space. He wore his scars from that arena fight with pride, calling them the marks that taught me wisdom. As for Elena Volkov, she returned to her research station, but her name became legendary across 40 systems. The human who taught the galaxy's most feared predators that true apex status isn't about being the best killer, it's about being wise enough to know when not to kill at all. I remain communications officer on the Razorwind, now serving cultural exchange missions rather than hunts. And sometimes, late at night in the observation deck, I think about those 5 words that changed everything. You have studied ambush predators, and I wonder what other lessons humanity has yet to teach us. Because if one human scientist with 10 bullets and a knife could transform an empire, what could a whole species of humans do if we ever made the mistake of becoming their enemies? I pray to every deity in every system that we never find out,